My name is Mustafa. I started learning Islam at a young age in Saudi Arabia. And I learned Islam at the hands of different Sheikh there, and I came here and I learned from other Sheikhs here. I also studied with Al-Mishka for a little bit. Yeah, so that's me basically. So we'll start with fiqh of fasting, and we'll have, I think, enough time, inshallah, to cover the material and have question and answers at the end. So I would advise maybe it's better to keep the questions to the end, and then we can answer all of them, inshallah ta'ala. And unless it's really urgent and you need an answer right away, then by all means, go ahead. Okay. So defining fasting. So linguistically, fasting means refraining from an action. You see my screen, right?
Yes, Sheikh, we can see it.
Yeah, okay. Allah Jalla wa Ala says in the Quran in Surah Maryam, فَإِمَّا تَرَيِنَّ مِنَ الْبَشَرِ أَحَدًا فَقُولِي إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنسِيًّا. So صوما here linguistically means I'm going to refrain. I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm stopping myself from talking to anyone. And it doesn't mean here صوما means fasting from the food, or not the Shari'i meaning we are talking about. So Allah says subhanahu wa ta'ala, the meaning is, and if you see any human being say, verily I have vowed a fast unto the most beneficent Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so I shall not speak to any human being this day. If you say I'm going to fast from talking, I'm going to fast from working, I guess, or anything else, that means you're stopping doing that. A Shari'i, the meaning of fasting is refraining from things that break the fast with the intention. We'll talk about the intention later on, inshallah, as well, of getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from Fajr of any day until it's Maghrib. So it is basically stopping from anything that breaks fast. So this is one thing we'll talk about. With the intention we should have an intention to getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, intention to fast, to get closer to Allah, from Fajr to Maghrib. And obviously, you know that fasting Ramadan is a pillar of Islam, is one of the pillars of Islam. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, iqamus salah, ita'iz zakah, wa sawmu Ramadan, the fourth pillar in the normally people are taught the pillars of Islam this way: ash-shahada, then salah, then zakah, then sawm Ramadan, then hajjul bayt. Now, what are the rules of fasting? Obviously, fasting Ramadan is obligatory. There are exceptions, we'll come to that as well. So it's obligatory for any Muslim or Muslimah to fast the month of Ramadan unless they have an excuse. They have a Shari'i excuse not to do so. We'll come to that, inshallah. The evidences are from the Quran and Sunnah, and obviously from the teaching of Rasulullah. But here, the ayah from Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, kutiba alaykum as-siyamu kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. O you who believe, fasting is prescribed for you. Kutiba here, prescribed for you, as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you may attain piety, taqwa. And the fuqaha took the word kutiba, that means it's ordained, it's prescribed, or it's a wajib upon you to fast. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, so if you are believers, for those, the nida, the call is for the believers that they have to fast the month of Ramadan. The other ayah in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم. The ayah continues to talk about the excuses of not fasting, and we'll come to that inshallah. The month of Ramadan is that in which was revealed the Quran, the guidance of the people and clear proofs of the guidance and criteria. So whoever observes the month, let him fast it. Let him fast it. This is the obligatory coming from whoever observes the month. فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمْ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. He has to fast. Now, the first condition for a correct fasting, or for fasting at all actually, is the intention. Having an intention of fasting is a requirement. It's needed. It's a condition for the correct fasting. Without intention, there is no fasting. So if someone decided just to, I will not do any of these things you're talking about from Fajr until sunset, without the intention of doing that as a qurbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to get closer to Allah, then that action is not rewarded. The intention is very important to keep it in mind for the month of Ramadan, for any wajib fasting for that matter, really, which is, we're talking about Ramadan here. Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu mentioned in a very famous hadith, the mutawatir hadith narrated in al-Bukhari, where he said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى. Indeed, deeds are based upon people's intentions. So doing actions, intention is important for fasting, as it's important to any ibadah for that matter, really, in any really action in life. If it is intended for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this intention has to be kept in mind. Now, there was a difference in opinion between scholars about this intention regarding when is it supposed to be, is one intention for the whole month is good enough, is the intention has to be kept in mind before Fajr, or is it possible to do it after Fajr, and so on. So we'll discuss that right now, inshallah. So Hafsa radiallahu anha narrated that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever has not joined the fast before Al-Fajr, then there is no fast for him. So in this hadith, Hafsa radiallahu anha, Hafsa, the daughter of Umar radiallahu anhu arda, she said, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam basically says, if you do not intend it, here joined by intention, because that's how you join the fast, by abstaining from doing what breaks the fast, but also by intention. Before Al-Fajr, then there is no fast for him or her. So here in this hadith is clearly, the Hafsa is saying, Rasulullah say, if you do not intend to fast before Fajr, then you have no fast. Your fast doesn't count, it's not rewardable. But Aisha radiallahu anha in another hadith said, the Prophet ﷺ once entered one day and said, has you got anything to eat? Like he came home in the morning and he asked Aisha, do you have anything to eat? So Aisha said, no. So basically the house of Rasulullah has no food. He said, in that case, I am among the fast. I am going to fast. So Rasulullah said basically, okay, if there is no food, I'm planning, or I intend now to fast. So in this portion of the hadith, basically what it tells you that he came in the morning, which is after Fajr, which was mentioned in the hadith of Hafsa, and then he said, okay, I'm going to fast since there is no food, I'm going to fast. And then she continued, he came to us another day and we said, oh Messenger of Allah, we have been given a hais, it's kind of food, as a present. So Rasulullah said, show it to me. So he saw it and he said, I started the day fasting and then he ate. So he intended Sallallahu to fast, but then when he saw the food, he decided not to fast. And he, Sallallahu broke his fast basically and he ate it. This is the narrated Muslim. You can see between these two hadiths, it seems there is a contradiction. One time Rasulullah said, if you do not intend to fast, you have no fast. And then in this hadith, he came after Fajr and he intended to fast because there was no food. Another time he intended to fast and then he came and there was food and he decided not to fast. And there is, when we look at those hadith, then the way you look at it is that there's really no contradictions, that we have to combine the two hadiths, which is basically both of the hadith are correct. Both of them are narrated in Bukhari and Muslim and so on. And there are many other incidents by Rasulullah which tells us that too. So what the fuqaha basically said is that the second hadith was talking about permissible fast or recommended fast, or fast that's not obligatory like Ramadan. So if you are fasting Monday and Thursday, for example, or any other day you want to fast the 3 days on every month, or these days which are recommended to fast, or any days, other days you want to fast, then the intention can be delayed even after Fajr, even at Dhuhr, as long as you do not eat or drink or do any of the actions which breaks the fast. We'll come to that later, inshallah. Then you could really start the intention and fast, as long as you do it before Maghrib, really. But if it is an obligatory fast like Ramadan, or a makeup for Ramadan, takes the same hukum, then you have to have the intention to fast before Fajr. It's not accepted if the intention is left after Fajr or intended after Fajr. So basically the first hadith, which is Hadith Hafsa radiallahu anha, is meant for the fard, siyam for Ramadan basically, and a makeup for Ramadan. While the other hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha is meant for non-obligatory fasting. Now regarding the intention, is the intention, one intention, good enough for the whole month, or you need to have an intention every day before Fajr? As you know, in Fiqh, in Islam, in Fiqh, there is always almost difference in opinion on that, which is okay. So in this case, if you are following any of these madhab, then you should follow the madhab you're following. You should stick to that, because that's the hukum shari in your behalf. But this is for your information. The Malikis, those who follow Imam Malik, Malik radiallahu anhu said that one intention for the whole month is good enough. While the other three A'immas, the famous A'immas, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi, and Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, they said no, you have to have one intention every day before Fajr for the Ramadan, month of Ramadan. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Now, what nullifies fasting? You intended to fast, you started fasting by Fajr time. So number one is intention. And that, as I said here, it might surprise you. So somebody intended to fast, and then after Fajr, he thought about, no, why should I fast? Maybe I should. Shaitan came and played a little bit. So if he intended to break the fast, then even if he did not eat or she did not eat or drink, the fast is nullified. If you break your intention during fasting, your fast is nullified. So be aware of that. So if someone decides to eat but does not actually eat, fasting is broken and becomes a sin. It becomes as if you have eaten, really. So the intention has to be continuous the whole time before Fajr until sunset every day for those who follow the three A'immas we mentioned. Obviously, the famous thing, eating and drinking, will nullify the fast. Obviously, from Fajr until Maghrib. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, same ayat as the same areas as the other ayat we mentioned earlier. وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكُمُ الْخَيْطُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الْخَيْطِ الْأَسْوَدِ مِنَ الْفَجْرِ ثُمَّ أَتِمُّوا الصِّيَامَ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ. So eat and drink until the white thread, which is the light of dawn, appears to you distinct from the black thread, again the darkness of night in the horizon. Then complete your sawm fast till the nightfall. So anyone who eats or drinks intentionally in the day of Ramadan from Fajr to Maghrib, he's breaking his fast and he's sinful. What if you forget? From Allah's mercy, subhanahu wa ta'ala, someone forgets and he eaten or drank water or something, then that's okay. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated that Rasulullah said, whoever eats out of forgetfulness and he's fasting, then he should complete his fast, because verily it is Allah who has given him food and drink. In another hadith, Abu Hurairah said, radiallahu anhu, Rasulullah said, whoever breaks his fast in Ramadan out of forgetfulness, then neither qada nor kaffara are not required of him. So as long as you have eaten or drank out of forgetfulness, then you don't have to make it up, you don't have to pay kaffara, you don't have to do anything really. You just continue your fast and glad tidings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you food and drink. Just pay attention to this. This is eating or drinking out of forgetfulness. You forgot that you're fasting, you just eating and drinking. It's different than eating or drinking by mistake, which we'll come to it right now. If you eat or drink before sunset by mistake, then that's a different hukum. So look at this one. So Fatima said, Asma bint Abu Bakr said, we broke our fast in the days of the Prophet ﷺ in a cloudy day. So, and then the sun appeared. So at that time, there was no watches and clocks and timers and stuff like that. So they go by the sun and you know, looking at the horizon and things like that. So it was a cloudy day. So they didn't see the sun. They thought it's already Maghrib, I guess. So it was said, so they have eaten, and then the sun showed up. So Hisham said, were they ordered to make qada, he asked. He replied, qada is inevitable, and Muammar said, I heard Hisham saying, I don't know whether they made qada or not. So in the hadith here it's saying, yes, it is, and somebody says, well, he's not sure. The stronger opinion that if you break your fast unintentionally, then you have to do the qada. But it's not sinful. You're not sinful because of that. So you eat or drink because of forgetfulness, no problem. You don't have to do qada or kaffara. You eat or drink because of a mistake, like thinking it's already sunset and it wasn't, then you just make it up, and there is no sin on that. The third thing which breaks the fast, or which ordains the woman not to fast, is what happens to women in menstruations and after birth. Mu'adh said that Aisha radiallahu anha said, what's behind the woman to make qada for her fasting but not for her salah? So Mu'adh is asking Aisha radiallahu anha, she asked, Aisha asked him, are you from among the Huririya? Huririya are the group of people, they were causing problem at that time. And she replied, I'm not, and he replied, I'm not from them, but was only asking. She said, we were afflicted by it, the period, so we were ordered to make up the fasting, but not ordered to make up the prayers, which is the hukum shari. So the women who have period or are at the time of birth and things like that, they're not allowed actually to fast. They should not fast, and they have to make it up. Aisha said, we used to have our monthly period whilst we were with the Prophet ﷺ, so he ordered us to make qada for the fast that we missed. Vomiting intentionally, not sure why somebody would do that, but it's in the books of fiqh. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said, the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever is overcome by sickness when he is fasting is not obliged with qada. But if it is intentional, then he must make it up. And if it is intentional, then it's a sin as well. It's a qada. There is a qada, but it's a sin because you're forcing yourself into this. So basically, vomiting unintentionally, it's you continue fasting, but intentionally it requires qada. Having intimate relationship between men and women, between husband and wife. Ibn Abbas said, radiallahu anh, the Muslims in the month of Ramadan used to be forbidden. This is at the early times of Siyam, when it was just revealed. So the Muslims were forbidden from their wives and food and drink after Salatul al-Isha. So if you pray Isha, after Salatul Isha, you're not allowed to eat or drink or touch the wife. So later on, what happened is that it was very tough for the Sahaba. Some people came and they were tired and they only waked up after Isha, and then it was too late to eat, and the next day you were not able even to walk. Some people have a relationship with their wives and things like that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from His mercy, made it us to Muslims, to people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the meaning is, it has been made permissible for you the night preceding fasting to go to your wives for sexual relations. They are clothing for you and you are clothing for them. Allah knows that you used to deceive yourself by doing it against the hukm at that time. So He accepted your repentance and forgave you. So now have relation with them and seek that which Allah has decreed for you. So now it becomes only a sin to have a relationship at the day of Ramadan, between Fajr and Maghrib. Now, what happened if a man did have a relationship with his wife in the day of Ramadan between Fajr and Maghrib? We see the answer in this hadith, which happened at the time of Rasulullah. Abu Hurairah said, a man approached the Messenger of Allah and said, "O Messenger of Allah, I am destroyed. Halaktu ya Rasulullah." He came and said, like, I'm done. I'm going to hell, basically. Rasulullah said, "Wow, what did you do?" And the man said, "I had a relation with my wife during Ramadan." Then Rasulullah started giving him the Kaffaras, basically, which is something you have to do to make up for the sin, basically. In this case, Rasulullah said, "Free a slave." And this man was a very poor man. He said, "I don't possess one. I don't have slaves to free, basically." Then he said, "Fast 2 consecutive months." The man said, "I am not capable. I can't do that." Then Rasulullah said, "Then feed 60 poor people." Then the man said, "Oh, I don't even have that. I don't have financial means. I can't feed 60 people." So Rasulullah gave the man some food, 15 sa', some food, and told him, take it and give it as a sadaqah, basically, to the 60 people. Then the man said, "Oh, Messenger of Allah, should I give it to other than my family?" This is really not correct here. The man continues saying, "By the one in whose hand is my soul, there is no one within the 2 sides of Medina who is more destitute, more poor than me, and in need than me." So Rasulullah told him, basically, free a man. He said, "I can." Okay, fast 2 months, I can. Okay, give sadaqah, I can. Okay, take this money and give it sadaqah. He said, "Who should I give it to?" I'm the poorest man in Medina, basically, me and my family. So Rasulullah started basically smiling and laughing. He said, "Then distribute it to yourself and your family." Sallu ala Rasulillah alayhi salatu. Snuffing or smelling things and stuff like that, I guess. Inhaling a material that goes down to the lungs, that's what snuffing is here. If that thing stays in the nose, like vapors, then as long as it doesn't go to the lungs and it's not swallowed, then it's okay if you use it for medication or something like that. Or non-medication, but I wouldn't put myself in the situation. Why would you do something if it is, if it is intentional and the material becomes liquid or solid inside your body, not like smell of a flower or aroma or something like that, which doesn't go to liquid or solid. So anything which goes in as a liquid or solid inside, and it goes beyond toward the lungs, then it's a problem. But if it stays as aroma and things like that, then it's permissible. The dalil on that is what Anas ibn Malik narrated, that the Messenger of Allah sallam, was asked, can the fasting person kiss? He replied, sallam, and what is wrong with that? It's like the smelling of a flower. And the point of dalala here is that smelling of a flower means it's okay, it doesn't break the fast. And that's why the hukum of snuffing something, as long as it is something similar to a flower and aroma of a perfume or something, then it is okay. But if it changes to a liquid or solid and it goes down the throat, then it's not okay. Now, what if somebody did any of those, eat, drink, have sexual relationship, and many of other things in Ramadan intentional? It is a huge sin, brothers. It is a huge sin. It's breaking, committing a sin against the fourth pillar of Islam. Ibn Mas'ud radhiallahu anhu said, whoever breaks the day of fasting in Ramadan without a rukhsa, without an excuse, a shari'i excuse, shari'i permission, he will meet Allah with it, and even if he fasts the entire time after that. So basically, you break one day of fast, and even if you try to make it up for every day in your life after that, that will not guarantee that Allah will accept that. It will stay against you until the day of judgment, and Allah will only decide. If He wills, He will forgive it, and if He wills, He will punish it. So someone will say, what about the hadith of the Kaffar you just mentioned? And I would say it depends, because you put these together, and the answer for that, even though the Kaffar is there, fasting 2 months and stuff like that, it's a big thing. But this hadith stresses the point that this is a huge sin. This is a huge sin. Some scholars says somebody did it intentionally, and he does those who freeze a slave or fast 2 months, that would be a kaffara for them. And some says no, that was specific for that man, that's specific for that incident, whatever. This hadith tells otherwise. It tells you fast how much you like after that. It's not forgiven, and you meet Allah with it, and Allah will decide on the day of judgment, will it be forgiven or not. So the conclusion here is that it's a big sin. Be mindful of that. Let's keep our fast. Make sure that we do not break a day of the obligatory fast. Now, what excuses, shari'i excuses, shari'i reasons we can break our fast in Ramadan, and we are not sinful. It's okay to do that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah again, أياما معدودات فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين. So this is the main verse in this for these special cases. So Allah says in translation, fasting for a limited number of days, Ramadan, the month of Ramadan, 29 or 30 days. That's the Arabic month. The lunar month is only either 29 or 30. So whoever among you is ill or on a journey during them traveling, then an equal number of days are to be made up. So you make a day for every day you break the fast with. And upon those who are able to fast but with hardship, وعلى الذين يطيقونه, like they could do it, but it's really hard, like elderly people or sick people, really sick and stuff like that. A ransom as substitute of feeding a poor person each day. So this ayah basically says traveling add sickness, you make it a فعدة من أيام أخرى, then an equal number of days. And the one who is hard, it's very hard to fast for him to fast, then he has to feed poor people. Now there is a different opinion a little bit on that. We'll come to that. So both the sick and the traveler are allowed to break their fast. They need to make these days later, basically. And also, obviously, they could break the fast, but they are allowed to fast if they want to do so. The question comes: what's better, to fast or not to fast, if you're traveling or you're sick? A sickness, and here the sickness is a sickness to distinguish this sickness from the one who can fast, but it's very hard to fast. The sickness here is a sickness which is expected to be cured, expected to be a few days or even a month or two, and then later on you could fast. But the other one is a sickness which is a long-term sickness. It's something it's not expected to recover from. Then that's the one which is we're talking about feeding, which we'll come to that. So for the sickness which is, the Fuqaha says, yurja bur'u, meaning it's expected, it is assumed that you can be cured from that sickness. And the travelers, if they break their fast, then they make it up. Now, what's better, to fast or not to fast? Yeah, some people are also, there is a different opinion as well. Jumhur, which is most of the scholars, said fasting is better, because the same ayah later on says, but if to fast is best for you if you only know. وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. If you fast is better for you. So most of the scholars said fasting is better if you're traveling or you're sick, but you can fast. The Hanabila, the Madhab al-Hanbali, if anybody is following that madhab, this is their opinion is that if you Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah said Allah intends for you ease and does not intend for you hardship. So they took from that ease, meaning you break the fast, you don't fast, and you make it up later when you're not traveling or sick. Ibn Abbas radhiallahu anhu also narrated that Rasulullah said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows for his servants to use his excuses like they obey his orders. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like if you use the excuse, same as you use your orders, as you execute his orders. Now, if you look deeper into this hadith, really, so basically Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes you to follow the order in the same level as follow his excuses. So really there isn't preference if you look deeper into the hadith. But anyway, in Madhab al-Hanbali said it's better to break the fast when you're traveling or sick. Jumhur ulama, which is al-Hanabila, the Malikis, the Shafi'is, and Imam Abu Hanifa, says it's better to fast. Now, I guess I did not cover that point. Let me go back into this one. The one I thought there is something about it, but maybe not. The one who is not able, he's sick, a sickness which it makes it very hard to him to fast, or he's an old person, and there is no obviously expectation in the future that it could be easier for him to fast, then he can not fast. He can break his fast and feed a poor person for every day that he is not fasting. Now, for women that are pregnant or breastfeeding, also there are some excuses there Islam gave. Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu said, Rasulullah said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written off half of the prayer off of the traveler, which is talking about that you can make qasr al-salah, you shorten the salah, and fasting of the traveler, pregnant and breastfeeding woman, as narrated by Ahmad al-Tirmidhi. Anas ibn Malik, again, he narrated Rasulullah said, permitted the pregnant woman that is worried for herself and the breastfeeding woman worried about her baby to break their fast. So there is an excuse given by Islam to a woman who is pregnant, whether she's worried about herself or she's worried about her baby or both, they can break their fast. And really there's a different opinion as well here on what, do they have to make up the day only, or do they have to make up the day and feed poor as well? Imam Abu Hanifa says she only has to make up the day. The other scholars, Maliki, Shafi'i, and Hanbali, Hanabila, they said she has to make it the day and feed a poor person for every day she broke her fast. And there are differences in opinion that as well. Some people talk about if she's worried only about herself, then she fasts only and she doesn't have to feed a person. If she's worried about her child, then she has to feed a person, and so on. Anyway, these are the opinions. I would say still, if you're following a madhab, stick to that madhab. The evidences, as it says here, there are no evidences, I guess. There are weak saying by Ibn Abbas, and I guess I3 takes the opinion that breaking the fast, you make up the day and you don't have to pay a day, which is, he took the Hanafi madhab. And I would like, since we mentioned that here, the Hanafi madhab, which says basically you only break the fast, you only make up the day, you don't have to, the woman does not have to pay to feed a person for every day. And as you can see here in Islam, really, and I'd like just to mention that in Islam, we follow the stronger dalil. We do not follow majority or minority. We don't have democracy in the ahkam of Allah. We looked at to the evidences and we see, you try and see what is the strongest dalil. Even if one scholar came up or used that dalil that way, as long as we believe that's a stronger opinion, we take that opinion regardless. There are more scholars who have the other opinion. Oh, okay. The elderly, I guess, came here. Sorry, I thought there's nothing about that. But anyway, so going back to the elderly who cannot, elderly or have a sickness that is incurable, then we come back to this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fasting for a limited number of days, so whoever among you is ill on a journey during them, then an equal number of days to be made up, as we said, and upon those who are able to fast but with hardship, a ransom, a substitution of feeding a poor person. So anyone who is not able to fast feeds a poor person for each day, basically. And amount is dependent on the place and where you are. Basically, a meal that is good enough for a person, an average price for a meal for one person. Maybe here in Canada, if we say maybe, I don't know, $15 or $20 or something like that. Lawful and unlawful acts. Is it okay to cool down with water? Some Sahaba narrated that they saw Rasulullah pouring water over his head while fasting due to his thirst or heat. So is that a dalil that we can do that? Yes, Rasulullah did that. So we can do that, I guess. Brushing your teeth. Obviously, they didn't have proper brushes at that time, toothbrushes, but they had siwaks. Based on the siwak evidence, as long as you do not do it so harshly that you swallow it or things like that, it's okay. Rasulullah was using the siwak while he was fasting, as narrated by Amr ibn Rabi'ah. Putting kuhl, I guess you know kuhl, which is put on the eyes. There's no evidence against it. So, Allah Alam is permissible. Tasting food without swallowing it, permissible, but you have to be careful. I wouldn't recommend it personally. Cupping hijama. Ibn Abbas narrated that Rasulullah used to do hijama. while fasting. So it's permissible. Now, unlawful actions, and this is not necessarily related to Ramadan itself, but any action that is not nullifying of the fasting, but it's a sin, like lying, like backbiting, like, you know, all of these things. These are not nullifies of the fast itself directly, but they are not. They would make our siyam not, let's say, complete. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So you may attain piety, taqwa. So if you are fasting, you're in the middle of that ibadah with the intention to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It should be more, you have to be more keen of not doing anything else that unpleases Allah, that angers Allah, that's haram to do. So yes, they do not break your fast, but they will not allow you to attain the goal of fasting, which is attaining taqwa, attaining piety. Because that's really the purpose, or that's let's say that the wisdom at the end of fasting is to attain taqwa, to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the month of Ramadan is a month of it's an occasion for us to excel, to use this opportunity to maximize in the hasanat, to increase our records for the Day of Judgment, to use this opportunity. It's like there are discounts going on in town. You go there and you buy and you buy and you buy. Here you go into Ramadan, and we are approaching, it's like 2-3 hours until Ramadan starts, and you have to have the intention to maximize on that. So not only doing good deeds from fasting to giving charities to praying, to helping others, to working for this deen, to all of these things, but also to make sure that anything you're doing wrong before you stop doing, and you have the intention to not do it again, even after Ramadan. It's Ramadan is the month where the shayateen are chained. So if any of us does a sin, that means it's you who's pushing yourself to do sin. It's your nafs. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kind of took care of the shayateen for us in Ramadan, to make it easier for us to do better and stop doing the bad things, and make it easier for us to continue like that after Ramadan. So if we are not using that occasion, we will lose a lot. And before I end, I think we are at the end of this one, and we'll open the floor to question. Before I do that, I'd like to remind myself and yourself that we are lucky that we are alive here today, and hopefully Allah will make us alive to observe the month of Ramadan. But who knows if we will be alive next year to observe Ramadan. I'm sure all of us know some people who were with us even a few days ago, and they're not with us today to fast Ramadan and use this great occasion to increase our accounts of good deeds, to help us attain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and enter Jannah, inshallah ta'ala, bi-fadli wa karami, in the Day of Judgment. So with that, I stop here. I know it didn't take as long as it's intended, 2 hours, but that's what it is, I guess. And I'll open the floor for any questions or comments, inshallah ta'ala.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Mustafa. I am going to share my screen, in which I send the link in the chat where they can go in right now and put all of their questions. Okay, whatever question was not answered, so please go there and type in your question. We will start answering the questions as the first few questions that were put in. Okay, so Sheikh Mustafa, a sister is asking about the asthma inhalers. Do they break fasting?
I am not aware of like I really don't know exactly what I know what it is, but I really never looked into it. So if it is something which does not go into solid or liquid inside, and it's just an aroma or something like that, then yes, it is okay. If it is something which can go into liquid or solid as it is inside the body, then there is a question mark. Now it becomes a question, can you fast without the inhaler or not? If you can't fast, then you're not supposed to fast. And this becomes a medical question.
Okay. Jazakallah khair.
Really.
Yes, next question is, what if I see someone, they accidentally drink but they were fasting, I'm seeing them. So I catch them accidentally drinking or eating. Should I remind them right away to spit the food or drink out? Or should I remind them after they have accidentally eaten or
drink? Yeah, that's a good question. The answer, I really don't know. I have no answer for that. Yes.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. Next up is this brother is asking that my wife had just given birth last Ramadan and had been breastfeeding, and my baby is still drinking milk. However, also the baby started eating solid food since last month. My wife started to make up the fast during this time. However, her monthly time came and she is still missing 14 days that she has to make up. Does she still need to fast these days? And if so, does her first half of Ramadan as a recompense or fast the days after this Ramadan? Sorry if this sounds complicated.
No, I understand. So basically here, anyone who has to make up days in Ramadan, whether fast, traveling or sick, or this case, pregnancy and breastfeeding and stuff like that, it is highly recommended, if possible, to do it before the next Ramadan. Now, if that's was not possible or was not done, obviously, then no, she should fast Ramadan if she can, obviously. Fast Ramadan as Ramadan now, and she has to make those days after Ramadan. So this fasting of Ramadan, the obligation is to make this Ramadan, to fast this Ramadan if possible. And then after Ramadan, she can make up the days of last Ramadan and whatever days happen in this Ramadan. She breaks fast. I hope I'm clear. So her intention now should be, if she can fast, the intention is to fast these days, this Ramadan. And later on, she can make up those days after Ramadan.
Okay. Jazakallah khair. And in the comments.
Sorry, if not clear, ask again, I guess, later.
Okay. Yes, brother. So if the answer is not clear, please do ask again so that your question is answered, inshallah, and you fully understand. The next, the follow-up question on this, is that, is the first fast valid if she was breastfeeding while fasting?
Yeah, breastfeeding does not break fast.
Oh. Jazakallahu khair. Next question. Should you break your fast first and then pray? Or is it okay if you pray first and then break your fast?
It is okay, but it's highly recommended to break your fast and then pray. Even if it is a sip of water or a date, that's what Rasulullah told us to do. He says, "Ma zalat ummati bi khair." My nation, my ummah is in goodness as long as they hasten the futur, breaking the fast, and akharu al-suhoor, and delayed the suhoor. So Islam, or Rasulullah says, like, eat and drink as close as possible to Fajr, and right away after Adhan, you break your fast. Is it okay? If not, you didn't do that, it's okay, but it's highly recommended to follow the Rasulullah tradition. He used to break his fast first and then pray.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. Next up. So postpartum bleeding, after birth, do you have to wait 40 days or until the bleeding stops to start? How long ever that bleeding takes? So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. You don't pray or fast until all the bleeding stops. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Whether it's 40 days or less or more.
Mhm. Can you repeat the part about intention breaking your fast?
Intention doesn't break your fast. What breaks your fast is breaking the intention. So if you have an intention to fast, but then during the day, for some reason, you decided, okay, I will go and eat. I'm not going to continue. I'm not going to finish this day. I'm going to eat. And you intended to do that. You intended to break the fast. Then your intention of breaking the fast would break your fast. I hope that's clear. So you have to make the intention before Fajr, but between Fajr and Maghrib, if you intended to break the fast, and you decided to do that, you decided to break the fast, then your intention is nullified. And that means you are fasting without intention now. And you cannot do that because you have to do the intention before Fajr.
I hope if that is not clear, please ask to repeat again. Oh, there's a follow-up question. Even for optional fasts, you have to have the nafila, not the fard.
No, the optional, no, because as you can see from the hadith which we mentioned, Aisha radiallahu anha said Rasulullah came, he wanted to not to fast, and then there was no food, he fasted, and vice versa. So nafila is different.
Okay, so it's only for the third one.
Yes.
So even if you don't eat after making intention to break.
Yes, because you can intend any time within the day. Don't to can just renew your intention to fast.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. So vaccine. We're getting the vaccine nullify fast.
To the best of my knowledge, no, it does not.
Pregnancy. When I was pregnant, I had experienced some difficulties where I couldn't fast for the month of Ramadan in 2020. So do I have to make up for the 70 days? 30 days, 30 days, yes.
Yes, you do. You do have to make up the 30 days. You don't have to do them consecutively, but you have to do 30 days. You can do, if you start doing Mondays and Thursdays, for example, or a few days a week or something like that, yes. But yes, you have to do that.
So I think
and I advise you to hurry up because life is in the hands of Allah. So whenever you can, try to make it up. This is on your neck. So yeah, unless you can't fast, then there is another hukum, the Kaffar. But as long as you can fast, then you should fast. But you don't necessarily have to fast 30 days one after another, full month. Fast a few days this week, a few days next week, and so on and so forth. Obviously after Ramadan.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. Someone in the comment mentioned a comment I don't really understand, but I'll just say it. Maybe you understand, Sheikh. They are asking, 40 days is not relevant in postpartum bleeding. So they are confused that they thought this was actually the number in the Hanafi school, that this is the valid limit, 40 days for postpartum bleeding. Is that true?
If they studied the Hanafi and they know that, then they know better than me. My understanding for this, and I did not study the Hanafi school, but my understanding for this, some women would have the blood cut before 40 days. Some women have it more than 40 days. So the 40 days, I think, is more like the norm, or the majority, or something like that. That's not a number. There is no evidence of a specific number given, to my knowledge. But again, as I mentioned in my presentation, and I'm repeating now, if you are following a certain madhab and you're sure of that, then by all means follow that madhab. But my understanding and what I know is that as long as there is bleeding, you don't pray. A woman does not pray or fast. But if there were no blood and she's clean before the 40 days, she should pray and fast. Allahu Akbar.
Okay, Jazakallah khair.
Right.
Next question. What if you are poor and you are sick? And so because of your sickness, you cannot fast, but also because you're poor, you cannot go and do the kafara, which is, you cannot, I guess, go and feed the poor. In that case, what should I do?
I would say from the hadith of Rasulullah, you don't do nothing, you deserve to be given money, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in the future, if you became rich and you have enough money to do it, then you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Jazakallahu khair.
Oh, yeah.
A question. I missed a fast because I was negligent about whether my period was finished or not. I didn't check if my period was done, but I didn't fast. And it's been 10 years, so I don't remember. What do I do? I wasn't sure.
I would say you estimate how many days you, what's your period days, roughly speaking, you estimate how many days you missed and you make them up. And ask Allah for forgiveness. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Jazakallah khair.
Oh, yeah.
Next question. Can we use toothpaste while fasting if we don't ingest the toothpaste? Would the flavor break the fast?
No, it's like the siwak. The siwak has a flavor too, like natural flavor. So as long as you do it modestly and then you do not overdo it, and you try to not swallow it, spit as much as possible, you're okay, inshallah.
Yeah. Opening fast at work. If I am at work during the time of when Maghrib is there, is it okay if I open my fast after some time, 1 to 2 hours from the actual time?
I would say if you can't even drink a sip of water or eat a date, then yeah, you could. It's just, may Allah help you if that's your case, really. Because I hope that you're working somewhere where you can at least have a sip of water. If you're living in Canada, I think you should be able to have a sip of water wherever you're working. So I would say, yes, eating the meal, fair enough, leave it to 1 hour, 2 hours, or whatever you like. But just a sip of water or a couple of dates, I hope you can do that at adhan time or as close as possible to adhan time. There is no sin of delaying breaking the fast. It's highly recommended to do that as soon as the adhan time comes.
Mm-hmm. So there was a follow-up question on the toothpaste one. So let's say if we taste something during cooking, we want to taste if the cooking taste is good, it tastes okay, but we don't swallow it. That does not break the fast?
It does not. If you just put it in your mouth and spit it, it does not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to break the fast, the water or the food has to go through the throat, down the throat. Anything before the throat is not considered eating or drinking. And as I said in the thing, I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying what is permissible.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Jazakallah. So there was a follow-up question on the work question. So they were asking how long after you can start eating, like is it still acceptable? For example, Maghrib, is time there, but it's probably 6 hours after Maghrib that you get the chance to eat. Is that okay?
It is okay, as long as you do not fast 2 days consecutively, because there is a nahi, it's not permissible to do that. But it's okay, and mashallah, you're good. I mean, after fasting 16 hours, you do not notice that you do not need to eat for another 6 hours or drink water. You're a great man or woman. I'm not sure who's writing this. But I hope. I mean, we are in Ramadan, observing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, ذلك ومن يعظم شعائر الله فإنها من تقوى القلوب. Like glorifying what is it called? شعائر Allah. The symbols of Islam, the signs of Islam is from taqwa. So observing the fast, observing when to fast, and so on like that, and keeping track of that, and following the sunnah is that means your heart is into it. You're into it, and that's a sign of taqwa. So I would recommend to try and, as much as possible, if you're working in a hard job or situation you can, then that's what it is. Allah permit that. It's just if you can do that, I would stick to the sunnah, and I would stick to what I can do to observe these signs of Islam, and to get into it, get into the mood of Ramadan and Suhoor and Futur and these things, because that's glorifying the signs of Allah, glorifying the ahkam of Allah, and that's a reflection of taqwa. So the only to briefly answer, you can. The only thing you cannot do is that fast another day without breaking fast. Other than that, to my knowledge, you can delay it as much as you like, even though it's not recommended.
Okay. Jazakallahu khair.
Yeah.
So there was a follow-up question on, I guess, feeding the poor. So they are asking what the average cost of meal is for someone in Canada.
I'm thinking $15 roughly. And if you're rich and can pay more, pay more. But I'm guessing $15 is reasonable as a meal in Canada. And Allah is Kareem and generous, and He would reward you more if you pay more. But I think $15 is reasonable. $15 to $20 is reasonable in Canada. Allah. Maybe some people in Vancouver or they're more expensive, maybe $20. Here in Ontario, I would say $15 is very reasonable.
Okay. Okay. So what if you forget to make the verbal intention before Fajr, but you had that intention at Suhoor?
That's fine. Saying the verbal intention is not required, really. The intention is it's a hard thing. As long as you intend to fast, and as you said, she said, like you go for Suhoor, you are intending to fast, so your heart is into it. So that's inshallah good. So just keep the intention there. You don't need to verbally say it. You could say it, but you don't have to.
Okay. So one follow-up question was on the feeding the people. Should we only feed the people in the same country as we live, or let's say we can donate to a poor country in Pakistan or any other country?
Wallahu alam, if there are poor people around you, maybe it's better to do it around you if you know them and you know they're in need. But there is nothing preventing you from sending it somewhere else.
Okay. So, khair. Question, what if I intended to fast the next day before going to bed, but I did not wake in time for Suhoor? Can I fast without Suhoor?
You could, because as long as you intended before you fast, the point here, if you're following the other madhahib, is that you have intention for every day. So before you go to sleep, you're intending to fast tomorrow. That's it. I mean, even if you wake up after Fajr, it's already, inshallah, the intention is there.
Okay. And a follow-up question on this was, can I make the intention? I mean, I slept so much, I guess I missed Suhoor, and I woke up in the middle, like after Fajr. And I forgot to make the intention. So can I make the intention as soon as I wake up?
You don't need to. You could. I mean, the intention should continue, as we said, continue to be with you in your mind and your heart that you are fasting this day. But I think the intention before Fajr is good enough, the one you had at night.
Okay. So Jazakallah khair. Going back to a follow-up question on feeding the poor people, is it okay if you are feeding the poor people who are non-Muslims?
There is a difference in opinion in that. Some says yes, some says no. I would say, to be in the safe side, this kaffara keep it to Muslims, but by all means, if you have poor people around you, non-Muslims, by all means support them with sadaqah. There is a difference in opinion in that, but I think that's to be in the safe side.
Okay. Jazakallah khair. So a new question. I am 30 and I haven't made up my fast from period since I started fasting at age 13. Do I have to make up all those missed fasts or just give sadaqah?
This is a hard question. My answer is I really don't know. But I would say you have to make them up. But maybe you should ask about that somebody more knowledgeable than me. Yeah.
Jazakallah khair. Next question is, if there's no blood, but you have yellow discharge after period, does that invalidate the fast?
I would say these are things women know better than men on that. So it's a judgment call. It's a judgment call. If you think you're still in the period, then no. If you think period is done, then yes. So every woman knows herself better. So I really can't. I mean, you have to make a decision or an answer. Is this a period or not? And I think discussion with our other woman maybe is better to answer this question. And once you answer this question, then the answer to the other one is easy. If you decide this is still period, then you don't fast and pray. But if you decide, no, this is still a period, then you don't fast. So it's more a question of, is this a period or not a period? I really don't have an answer for that.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. If a person is chronically ill and they cannot fast, it makes them worse. They think that they might be able to keep a fast, but should they try? Should they at least try to fast because they want to see if they can or they cannot take it? And also, if they are unsuccessful, what do they have to do if they broke the fast? If they were not able to have the strength to finish the fast, so they had to break in the middle of that fourth fast. And if they are, one more part of the question. And if they find out that they're actually, they have the strength to be able to fast because they were successful in fasting, does that mean they have to make up years and years of fasts?
I would say the following. If you have a chronically ill, if a person have an elderly or a chronically ill person, and as we said, he does not have to fast if he doesn't think he can fast, or she can fast. And they just feed people, feed the poor. Now, if they want to try, they could try. What can they do if they cannot do it? Then they just break the fast and feed people. If they could, without hardship, remember the ayah says, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ, meaning they could fast, but with hardship. So the ayah doesn't say you can't fast 100%. The ayah said you could fast, but with hardship. Then you don't have to fast, by the way. So the ayah is not talking about somebody who can't fast 100%. The ayah is saying, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَ. يُطِيقُونَ means they could fast, but with a very hardship. It's hard for them to fast. Then they don't have to fast and they just feed the poor. So you could try. What happens if you can't? You just break the fast and feed poor people. You manage to do it, you can do it. If you think you can do it without hardship and you want to do it, you can do it. What happens on the last years, to my best judgment, you already fed poor people for that, you already made the kaffara, then that's history, it's done. In the future, it's up to you. If you think you can fast without hardship and you want to fast, you can continue to fast. But if you think you're fasting with hardship and you don't want to fast, you don't have to fast. You just feed poor people. I hope that's clear.
Yes, let us know if anything is not clear so we can repeat the answer, inshallah. Next question is, if we don't make up our Ramadan fasts by the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, can I still fast the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah? Oops. Or do I have to make up my Ramadan fasts first? Can I make 2 intentions while fasting, intending to fast 10 days of Dhul Hijjah and also making up missed Ramadan fasts at the same time?
First of all, we fast 9 days of Dhul Hijjah, not 10. The 10th is the Eid. So I would say no. You still could fast the 9 days of Dhul Hijjah and then make up the Ramadan after that. It is always recommended, though, to fast or make up the obligatory siyam as soon as you can. Don't leave things drag. Can you make 2 intentions? No. The fard, the make-up siyam, is the strongest opinion. The make-up siyam has its own intentions. You're fasting, even if you are fasting the day of Arafah, you have to make the intention that I'm fasting this as a make-up for a day I didn't fast in Ramadan. Now, Allah is Kareem, Allah is generous. You're fasting in Yom Arafah, inshallah, Allah will reward you too. But the intention has to be for the make-up. When you make up a day, you have to have the intention, you have to have it before Fajr. You treat it like Ramadan. You have to have it before Fajr and you have to keep that intention and fasting it as a make-up for the day I didn't fast. But in this situation, you can fast the 9 days and then make up the Ramadan after as soon as you can. Treat making up fast like you owe a debt, because that's how Rasulullah described it in some hadith. You owe a debt. So try to pay that debt as much and as fast as you can.
Okay. Jazakallah khair. Yes, is breaking the fast with a date sunnah or is it just mustahab?
Sunnah and mustahab is the same for me anyways. It is recommended by Rasulullah. Yes. Allahu Alam.
Okay. And opening with water, is that a mustahab too?
No, my understanding is date. If you don't have date, then water.
So the kaffara amount, how to determine the kaffara amount if you are sending it back home? Should I send it based on the amount for Canada or the amount that feeds in country back home?
I would say, again, to be in the safe side is to do it as per Canada, because you're required. You're here. You're supposed to. I think you make it per Canada and then you send it to Allah. Be in the safe side. Always, brothers. Allah generous. Allah is Kareem. So give to Allah and Allah will give you back. Don't be in the safe side always. Be in the safe side. Allah.
Okay. There's a follow-up question. Just a note that if you guys have new questions to the already answered questions, please create a new question at the bottom because I will definitely miss them. Okay, the follow-up question for being chronic illness, chronically ill. What if the chronic illness goes away and becomes manageable so you can fast for the future? It's no longer a hardship. Are the past fasts still due upon you, or the paid kafara settles those past fasts?
Allahu Alam, they settle it. Whatever, as long as you pay the kafara, you're good. Just fast the future months. Allahu Alam.
Okay, a few more questions. Yes, I guess already answered about the verbal question. The verbal intention is not needed. So traveling. If I'm traveling, is it better I take the rukhsa and break the fast? Or is it okay if I fast while traveling?
Well, as we mentioned in the discussion that Ahmad ibn Hanbal, the Hanbali madhab says it's better to break the fast. All other madhab says it's better to fast. My own opinion, which not necessarily matters, but my own opinion is better to fast if there is no hardship. Wallahu a'lam.
Okay. Does fighting and arguing break the fast?
It doesn't, but as we said, that these are the things which does not nullify the fast, but it doesn't allow us to get closer to Allah the way we should, to attain taqwa, as the ayah mentioned. Whether fighting or arguing or committing any sin, really, it's a problem, because it's a problem at any time, not only in Ramadan. Yes.
Okay. Jazakallahu khair. Okay, 1 second. Last question, or maybe if more come in. For missed Ramadan days, when fasting Mondays and Thursdays, do you get the ajr of fasting those days on Mondays or Thursdays, plus the intention for the third missed Ramadan days too?
Again, to my understanding, no, because you're making this up. But again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most generous, and He can give as much as He wants for us. Remember, fasting is the only ibadah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Hadith, which Rasulullah said about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, كل عمل ابن آدم له إلا الصوم فإنه لي وأنا أجزي به. All that the deeds, all the things that Ibn Adam does is for him. الحسنة بعشرة أمثالها. Like every hasana has 10, except a sum. إلا الصوم فإنه لي وأنا أجزي به. Except a sum is for me, and I'm the one who reward for it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not determine a specific reward for fasting. Allah made it open. He decides for himself what to give to whom. So Allah is Kareem, and but Wallahu a'lam, you fast a day, it make up for Ramadan day. It would not count as Monday or Thursday or whatever. Wallahu a'lam. However, Allah is Kareem, and you never know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most generous.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. Question. What if you have to take antibiotics during fasting? Would that break the fast? Because I cannot skip those because of antibiotic resistance.
If you have to take some medication and a doctor says you have to take them, and if you don't, it causes you problems, whether these medication you mentioned or other medication, then you don't have to fast. And it applies to you that you make up the fast later on, you make up the days. Unless this is something you have to take for life, then you have to only pay the kaffar. That means you can't fast, really. Then you have to pay the kaffar. So any medication you have to take, if a doctor tells you, you have to take it. If you don't take it, it's a serious danger to your life, then you can't fast. That means you can't fast. Because obviously antibiotics or any medication, take it, it will break your fast.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to swallow it. You have to swallow it, right? So.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, another question. How do you combat the negative feelings from being unable to fast or contribute in Ramadan because you yourself are too ill and you always feel like a burden, but you stay away so as to not be, and you keep on trying to make yourself better?
Unable to fast because you're health-wise unable, or
yes, health-wise.
Yeah, if somebody is health-wise unable, I don't know why would he feel bad, because this is Islam. Islam came as a mercy for people, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from His wisdom and knowledge, and He knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ. Read the ayat in Surah Al-Baqarah, which we covered. يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ. Allah want to make it easy for you. He doesn't want to make it hard for you. And you may be not fasting, but you may be rewarded more than the people who are fasting, because you are eager to fast. So don't feel bad at all. Don't feel bad at all. Just do exactly like what the people fast do, or even better. Read Quran, do the right good thing, do whatever you can do. You don't have to fast to be a good Muslim if you can't fast. So I wouldn't feel bad at all. Obviously, somebody who wants to fast, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it not obligatory on somebody who cannot fast. And it's all okay, it's all good. And as I said, you may be rewarded more than some people who are fasting. But make the intention. Allah knows the hearts, and Allah knows the hearts, and He knows from your heart that you are eager to fast, and He may reward you more than us. So I wouldn't feel bad at all.
Okay, so I guess 2 more medical questions. Would vitamin B12 injections break the fast?
I heard that injections do not break the fast, but I would ask you to ask about that somebody else.
Okay. Another question is, what if you're taking supplements? Which I guess these supplements are not really necessary.
Again, the answer is the same. If you have to take them, and if you do not take them in the day of Ramadan, causes you problems, health problems, then you can't fast. But if you can just take them at night, for example, one at the futur and maybe one at before Fajr. It depends. The health issues depend on the situation itself and what doctors say. Somebody expert on that says. If you have to take them, then you can't fast in the day of Ramadan. You can't fast. But then, as I mentioned in the previous answer to the question, then you have to pay the kaffar, or make them up later if you will be in the situation where you don't have to take this medication. So treat all medications the same. If you need to take a medication and not taking the medication will cause problem to yourself, a serious health, not, you know what I mean, then you can't, that means you are under the thing that you cannot fast. You're sick. Sick medically.
Okay. I guess maybe the last question. What is the best way to soften a hard heart during Ramadan?
I'll read about Islam, read about the Sahaba, read about the Rasulullah, read Quran, try to understand the Quran, the ayat of the Quran. The more you read about Sahaba and how they did and what they did, and Rasulullah and how they used to do in Ramadan, what they used to do, doing ibadat, going closer to Allah, spend on the path of Allah, give zakah, help people. But definitely Quran and reading Sirah and what Rasulullah and Sahaba went through soften the hearts. Remember, reminds of al-akhirah, wal-jannah, and al-nar, and all of these things.
Okay, jazakallah khair. If you get hurt while fasting that causes some open wounds or some little bleeding, would that break my fast?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Answered. Yes. Yeah, that was just jazakallah khair, Sheikh. May Allah reward you.
وإياكم بارك الله فيكم جميعا.
If anyone else has any questions, please let me know, because we did finish early, and the recording, if you missed it, is on YouTube, right? So you guys can go to itnc.ca, itnc on YouTube, and it is recorded there. There is one question, I guess. They're asking, so if a non-Muslim asks us why we fast, should we say that it's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us to? And then we should say that it is to experience the hunger of a poor person? Is that the correct way of answering this?
Yeah, I would say the first portion is definitely the pure correct answer, is that we fast because Allah told us to fast. Now, if we start discussing with that person the wisdoms and siyam and things you benefit out of siyam, other than that, we're doing it for Allah because Allah ordered us. It's a pillar of our deen. We do it, our Islam. But if the discussion comes into wisdom stuff, we can go there. But why are we really fasting? We're fasting to attain the pleasure of Allah. Remember when we talked about the intention, that's the intention. We fast for Allah to attain His pleasure. That's it. If there is no wisdom in it, then there is nothing, which is not the case. I'm just saying. But we fast for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to get His pleasure.
Mm-hmm. Now there's another question, and they're asking, is it better to read the Quran, like, just reading? Or is it better to actually study the tafsir?
Both of them are good. Both of them have their rewards. Both of them are important. I would mix the two, definitely. But reading Quran alone without understanding it is not necessarily the best, I would say. But both of them are good. Do both. Read the surah and then read the tafsir, read the surah tafsir, or a few pages in the tafsir and stuff like that.
Okay. Jazakallah khair. I guess, yes. Any other questions, guys? Let us know. We have answered all the questions that were asked. No other questions? Okay. What are the best ways other than fasting and reading Quran to gain taqwa?
All good deeds. You spend the money, you pay sadaqat, you help others, you help in the masjid, you help your neighbors, you help people. Any good deed. I mean, everything is open, really. Attaining taqwa is doing what Allah wants from us in all our aspects of life. How we treat our family, our parents, our kids, wives, husbands, all of this. How do you do your work? Are you doing your work correctly? Are you honest? All of these things. Taqwa is basically keeping in mind that Allah is watching us and doing everything to please Him as if He's looking at us. So if you keep in mind that Allah is watching us and keep that intention of doing everything in life to please Him, then you attain taqwa. Then you have taqwa because you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you do the right thing and you do not do the wrong things.
Okay. Jazakallahu khair. Now, one question. If you throw up, if you vomit during fasting, does that break your fast?
If non-intentionally, no. If intentionally, yes.
Okay. So, one more question. Since Tarawi is a sunnah and it's not a fard, can we spend that time reading Quran by ourselves and study tafsir?
You could.
What if people who abuse you and they apologize before Ramadan? It's not a complete question, so if the question can be completed. Or you guys can, yes, well, do I have to forgive? Do I have to forgive them before Ramadan?
Well, two things. Number one, remind those people who are abusing others that Allah is the same God before Ramadan, in Ramadan, and after Ramadan. And He sees you in Ramadan and before Ramadan and after Ramadan. And He knows the hearts. To forgive them or not, it's up to you. The one who forgive others, Allah will reward him immensely. This ayat in the Quran about that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give immensely for those who forgive people. You don't have to though. it is highly recommended too, but you don't have to. But maybe you should remind those people that Allah is the same God, the same Ilah before and after.
Okay. Jazakallahu khair. One question. What are the signs of an accepted Ramadan?
In general, the signs of accepted ibadah and accepted good deeds is that you feel good doing more of that. You feel comfortable. You feel you are encouraged internally to do more. That's what the scholar said is a sign of acceptance. Yeah.
Okay. Can you forgive people? I guess now these are more general questions now, not related to fasting. Can you forgive people when you're emotional and then change your mind and then not forgive them?
I guess you could.
Yes.
Forgiveness is not a word you say. Forgiveness is more a heart thing. Really.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Jazakallah khair. Any other questions specifically related to fasting? Or I guess we do have time, so no questions? None? So I guess you guys can also speak up, because I guess now I can take this to be there are no questions. I'm just going to, before I end, I am just going to share. Yes.
So, yeah. So in Ramadan, some masajids have iftar. Sponsoring iftar is that if you spend just a small amount, is that enough, or should we spend the entire community amount? And is that recommended? Do we spend for the iftar in the masajids?
If you spend the money to give iftar to people, this is highly recommended in Ramadan, definitely. So you are من فطر صائما فكأنه يعني كأنه يأخذ نفس الأجر. You will take the same reward of the people you are feeding, or you are feeding, I guess, during Ramadan, or give them fatur during Ramadan. So is it recommended? Yes. How much you can give, how much you give, how much you can give, it's up to you. I mean, the more you give, the more Allah will give you. Is it recommended? Yes, it is. It is one of the things which is recommended, is to invite people for iftar and stuff like that. Yes. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, I guess we got two more questions. If you're fasting and you're close to the end of the day, you realize you got your period, then should you continue to fast till the end of the day?
You don't have to. You'll have
So
to make it up anyway.
Oh.
You'll have to make it up.
Yeah. For this question, they're saying that can I skip the Masjid for Tarawi?
You can skip the Masjid completely for women.
Yes.
Masjid Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, maybe mentioned this. One woman came, and Rasul, she was always praying behind Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And one time she asked something, so Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told her that the praying of a woman in her house is better than praying in this masjid, in the masjid. So the woman said, "Oh, Rasulullah, I like to pray behind you." He said, "I know you like that, but the prayer of a woman in her house is better than her prayer in my masjid behind me here." And then he came back and he said, the prayer of the woman in her inner house, like the room inside the house, is better than her prayer in the outside the house, or like the entrance of the house. So this woman listened to the Rasul, and she built herself a small room at the back of her house, and she never was seen praying in the Masjid. So, yes, if you, by all means, prayer of a woman in the house is more rewardable than prayer for her in the Masjid. The only difference, though, is maybe sometimes there is a good speech, good things like that you may miss, but maybe the internet can cover that. So I don't feel bad at all for women not praying Taraweeh in the Masjid. They're allowed to. I'm not saying it's haram or anything like that, but I'm saying what's better is not to go to the Masjid, to tell you the truth. Yes. For women, not for men, guys.
Okay. Jazakallah khair. They are asking, in that case, it is better for us, for women, to not go to Taraweeh?
Yes.
And but what if the Taraweeh actually encourages you to pray?
Then, I mean, you have to weigh it. You have to weigh it. I mean, you have to encourage yourself, I guess.
Okay. This question I think you answered previously, but they're asking again. Better to give zakat back home or in Canada, because in Canada there is social assistance.
As I said, if you know some people are really poor here and they deserve the zakat, better to give here, I would say, around. If not, then you can send it. And I agree with you, maybe in Canada, there isn't real poor people. Allahu Alam. But if you know of somebody, you know, around you that they deserve the zakah, maybe it's better to give them the zakah. Allahu
Alam. There's a follow-up question on not going to the masjid from women. If you don't go to the masjid, do you even have to pray Taraweeh at home? Or can you pray Taraweeh at home?
You could pray Taraweeh at home. Taraweeh, by the way, is just a Qiyamul Layl. So you could pray at home. You could pray Qiyamul Layl in Ramadan and not in Ramadan. Qiyamul Layl is something you can pray anytime, all the time at night, not only in Ramadan. So Taraweeh is Sunnah. Taraweeh, you don't have to do Taraweeh. Even men cannot, do not have to do Taraweeh. But it is recommended to do Taraweeh, to pray Qiyamul Layl. So, yeah. You don't have to do it in the masjid. You could do it in the masjid. You don't have to do it in the masjid. You can do it at home, definitely.
Okay. Jazakallah khair. Quick question. What can we do to make our intentions pure for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Try to know Allah, who's Allah first. And if you try and learn about Allah, and then you know that anybody else doesn't deserve a slight attention compared to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes. So what is some of the ahkam of i'tikaf during Ramadan?
I'tikaf is a different story. Maybe you can Google it or something. It's there are ahkam. If you intend to do i'tikaf, you cannot go outside unless it's necessary outside the masjid. Obviously, you spend the time doing the dhikr and salah and siyam and ibadat and so on. But the main hukum is that don't leave the masjid. You spend all the time in the masjid. You sleep and pray and eat and everything in the masjid. Really.
Yes. Next question. How many Taraweeh should one pray at home alone?
As many as she likes. Taraweeh itself, minimum is 8. That was narrated and came to us from, and maximum is 20. There are hadith that, so normally 8 and then 3, the shafa and al-watr, so total of 11. But you could pray as many as you want. Really, there is no, these are all recommendations again. Taraweeh is not a compulsory salah.
Okay. So this question, I guess, was missed. They were asking, is it better to stick to one masjid for Taraweeh, or does not matter if you change masajid?
Does not matter.
Okay. Any other questions? In the meantime, while you guys think of questions, or the last questions, let me quickly also share the Ramadan week 1 planner by I3 Institute. The only difference is that this is not here anymore. Tomorrow we have the Caliph series from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We will be doing Abu Bakr Anhu's. Tonight is Taravi starting at the I3 Hub in Mississauga. Tomorrow we will also have the I3 hour. Tomorrow, I believe, will be the first episode of Traps of Shaitan and the first episode of Tafsir. And then this week 1 planner will be released, so keep this handy so that you guys can know what's up, inshallah. On Sunday too, I3 hour and then Tarawi, I3 hour, Tarawi. Ajr Fajr will be starting. Ajr Fajr will be Tajweed plus reflections on the Tafsir. And then, and then next Saturday will be the Ramadan Reawakening. It will be by Brother Ijaz Ahmed on the proofs of Islam. There will be the conference, Pursuing Excellence. There will be Iftar and Taraweeh, inshallah, next Saturday, April 9th. Okay, so let's go back to see if you guys have any questions more. Okay, question, I guess, that don't you get more hasanat if you pray in a jama'ah related to women staying home?
For men, yes. The hadith is clear that the prayer of the woman in her house is better than praying in jama'ah in the masjid.
Next question, what if your intention or to perform Taraweeh as a woman in masjid is because you want to do khatam of the Quran with imam, since your recitation and memorization is weak? Is it better in that case to Taraweeh?
I can't say it's better, or when Rasulullah says the salah is in her house is better, I can't say, but definitely there is a benefit out there. Allah will give based on the intentions, but definitely I can't say it's better.
Okay, there's a follow-up question that if you don't have many surahs memorized, can you have the Mus'haf, the Quran in front of you, and then you can pray by reading?
You could.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you could.
Okay, jazakallah khair. Next question is it better to make up the missed prayers or to read Thrawi prayers?
Well, you have missed prayers. You should make the missed prayers, definitely. And I'm not sure missed prayers are supposed to be made up right after you remember you forgot them or something. So you're too late if you're waiting for Ramadan Taraweeh to make them up. So I would say yes, definitely make up the salah first, the mandatory salah make-up. Yes, we should always take care of the fard before you go to mandub, to recommend it. So obligatory first, and make sure you have the obligatory done and then cleaned up, and then you look into extras.
Yes, I hope that answers, inshallah. The other follow-up question is, let's say you still have some missed prayers to make up, but is it okay if you do the mandub anyways?
And do the mandub, what does that mean?
No, if you do the mandub anyways, by not having the fard made up first.
You could, but if you die tomorrow, what would you say to Allah? Oh, I did the recommended and I left the fard. You should. Let's put our priorities right. You could. I'm saying Allahu Alam. You could. But my recommendation is that you take care. Even if you go and pray Taraweeh, you go pray Taraweeh on the niyyah that you're making up that salah, and then you pray that way. Maybe that will be better for you. But the intention has to be to make up the fard first. Priorities have to be set straight.
Mm-hmm. Next question, a follow-up question on the women praying at home, that if they are not able to read the Arabic of the Quran, can they read the transliteration in English in the Tarawi prayers and then pray?
Pray with the English translation.
With English transliteration. Transliteration meaning, I guess, how to pronounce an Arabic word.
You do your best. That's all what I can say. You do your best.
Mm-hmm.
You do your best.
Yeah, I guess transliteration has an option here. Yes. So this one. Wal asri in English.
Wal asr.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Do your best. Do your best.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I would say in the first salah, try to read the Quran from your memory.
Mm-hmm.
Like things which you know that you're saying it right.
Okay.
As much as possible.
Can you pray Tarawih with an online jama'ah if you're not able to go in person?
I don't know the answer to that question.
If I missed many prayers, will my sunnah make up for my fard if I missed?
Well, the Hadith of Rasulullah talks about that when he says in the Day of Judgment that the first thing the human, the people will be asked about is Salah. If it all goes well, then everything is well. If they have shortcomings, then Allah will ask the angels to see if they have recommended Salah, they have Sunan to make up for the fard. So yes and no. I would say if you know that you missed some Salah, make them up. Try to make them up. And leave the sunan as the patches, because you don't know. I mean, we pray, but you don't know if our salah is accepted, if we did our salah correctly. So you don't want to use those sunan now. Keep them to patch the shortcomings on the fourth salah in the Day of Judgment. So I would recommend to make up the salah now. If you know that you missed certain salahs, make them up now. Push yourself a little bit and make them up. And then do no sunan, extra sunan to just make sure that hopefully we pass. Because there's no second chance. There's no second chance.
Yes. So, okay. One more question. Can you listen and repeat a surah in salah, like have Quran playing in the background? Or is it better to read the surahs you have already learned?
I would say you have to read yourself. You don't. I mean, your attention will not be correct. I mean, you listen to the ayah and then you say the ayah. The other ayah is already being said. I would say no. Read the Quran.
Okay. Jazakallah khair. So we have 7 minutes left. Anyone else has any questions? Please, I guess now you can speak up. Oh, okay, there's a question came. How can I make up my missed prayers if there are many? Because sometimes there are times where I should not pray. For example, after Asr, we are encouraged not to pray.
You have the time at night, you have the time between Fajr, between sunset, sunrise, and Asr. Just make a schedule for yourself, even if every day you do a couple of them. Maybe I know someone who had an issue like that, and what he used to do is to pray with every salah another salah. He prays Dhuhr, he prays 4 and 4. Maghrib, he prays 3 and 3. Isha, he prays 4 and 4. Fajr, he prays 2 and 2 to make up. If you take it seriously, you can find a way. Try. Allah is generous again. He will reward you immensely. And ask for his forgiveness and help, and he will help you.
Yes. Okay, Jazakallah khair. Yes, someone was thanking you, Sheikh. May Allah bless you. The session was very meaningful.
Inshallah, barakallahu feekum.
no other questions, then I guess we can end, inshallah. And Sheikh, you can end the session.
May Allah reward you, barakallah fikum. I ask Allah for forgiveness, and if I said something wrong, it's from myself, the shaitan, and anything good from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our fasting and prayers, and help us to do the best in this month, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the end of this month doesn't come without us being forgiven and salvaged from the hellfire with our families and loved ones. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah al-alameen. Wa barakallahu feekum wa jazakum Allah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.